What if I told you, you're not failing at manifestation, you're just missing one small piece that Neville Goddard never made obvious. You've read the books, you've imagined the scenes, you've tried to feel it real, but somehow nothing sticks. Results come slow or not at all. And that creates doubt, frustration, even guilt. But here's the truth. There's a hidden gap between knowing Neville's teachings and actually living them. And once you see this missing piece, everything changes. Manifestation stops feeling like work and starts happening naturally. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what that missing piece is and how it quietly controls your entire reality, whether you realize it or not. Stay with me, because this might be the shift you've been waiting for. Here's where most people unknowingly block their own manifestation. They know everything. They've read the books, watched the videos, memorized the quotes. They can explain Neville Goddard better than anyone else. But their life still looks the same. Why? Because knowledge is not identity. Let me explain this in a simple way. You can say, I am rich 100 times a day. But if deep inside, your identity still feels like someone who struggles, someone who worries about money, someone who expects lack, then your outer world will follow that version of you, not your words. This is the gap. This is the missing piece. Manifestation is not about repeating new thoughts. It's about becoming a new self. And most people never make that shift. They stay the same person, just with better affirmations. But your reality doesn't respond to what you're trying to believe. It responds to what you already accept as true about yourself. That's identity. Your identity is your internal I am, not the one you say, the one you feel naturally, the one you return to without effort. For example, if your identity says, I'm always unlucky, then even when something good happens, your mind will find a way to cancel it. If your identity says, money comes easily to me, then even small opportunities will start turning into bigger ones. Same world, different identity, different results. So the real question is not, what am I trying to manifest? The real question is, who am I being right now? Because that version of you is already creating your future. Here's the shift most people miss. Stop trying to force new thoughts on top of your old self. Instead, start stepping into a new identity. Ask yourself, if my desire was already fulfilled, who would I be? How would you think? How would you react? How would you talk to yourself when no one is listening? That's the version you need to embody. Not perfectly, not all at once, but consistently. Because identity is not built in one moment. It's built through repetition of being. This is why small inner changes matter. The way you respond to problems, the way you see yourself in the mirror, the way you talk inside your own mind. All of this is shaping your identity, and your identity is shaping your reality. So instead of saying, I hope this works, start becoming someone who simply expects it to work. Instead of thinking, what if it doesn't happen? Shift to, it's already mine. I'm just allowing it to unfold. Notice the difference? One is trying. The other is being. And manifestation only responds to being. This is why some people get results effortlessly, while others struggle for years. It's not about effort. It's about alignment. When your identity matches your desire, things feel natural. Doors open, opportunities appear, people respond differently. It almost feels like reality is adjusting to you, because it is. So don't just learn the law, become it, because the moment your identity shifts, your reality has no choice but to follow. This is one of the biggest silent mistakes, and almost nobody talks about it clearly. You visualize your dream. You close your eyes, you see it, you feel it, maybe for 5 minutes, and then you open your eyes and go right back to being the old version of yourself. back to doubt, back to overthinking, back to checking your reality for signs. And that right there breaks the entire process. Because Neville didn't just teach visualization. He taught living in the end. There's a massive difference. Visualization is something you do. Living in the end is who you become. Most people treat manifestation like a task. Okay, I did my visualization today. Now let's wait. But manifestation doesn't work on a schedule like that. It responds to your dominant state. Not your 5-minute effort, but your 2-4-hour identity. Think about it like this. If you imagine being successful, but spend the rest of your day thinking, what if I fail? Why isn't it happening yet? I hope this works. Then which state do you think wins? The dominant one? And for most people, that's doubt. This is why results feel inconsistent or slow. Because you're sending mixed signals. For a few minutes, you're aligned. For the rest of the day, you're not. So reality doesn't fully shift. Now here's the real shift. Stop thinking of visualization as something separate from your life. It's not an exercise. It's a doorway into a new state of being. When you visualize correctly, you're not just seeing your desire. You're stepping into the version of you who already has it. And once you step into that version, your job is to stay there. Not physically, not perfectly, but mentally. Ask yourself this powerful question throughout your day. Am I thinking from my desire or of it? This question changes everything. Thinking of your desire means it's still separate from you. You want it. You miss it. You're chasing it. Thinking from your desire means it's already yours. You're operating as if it's done. For example, if you want money, thinking of it sounds like, I need more money. When will it come? Thinking from it sounds like, I always figure things out. Money flows to me in ways I didn't expect. Same desire, different state, different outcome. Living in the end doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you stop letting reality control your state. Even if nothing has changed yet, you remain internally consistent, calm, certain, stable, because you're no longer reacting to what is. You're anchored in what's already done. This is where manifestation starts to feel effortless. You're not forcing belief anymore. You're not trying to convince yourself. You're simply being someone different. And that changes how you move, how you speak, how you respond to life. Opportunities start to appear. People treat you differently. You notice things you didn't see before. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did, and the world is now reflecting that version of you. So the next time you visualize, don't treat it like a task. Treat it like a shift in identity. Step into it fully, and then carry that version of you into your day. Because the truth is, it's not about how well you visualize. It's about how long you can stay in the state. And the moment you stop visiting your dream, and start living from it, that's when everything begins to move. This is where most people get completely confused. They hear Neville say, feel it real, and instantly they think it means emotion. So they try to force feelings. They try to feel excited, happy, overwhelmed with joy. They hype themselves up for a few minutes. But then what happens? The feeling fades. Reality hits, doubt comes back stronger, and they think, I didn't do it right. But here's the truth. Neville was never talking about emotional intensity. He was talking about conviction, a quiet, stable, unshakable knowing that it's already done. That's a completely different state. Emotion is temporary. Conviction is steady. Emotion goes up and down. Conviction stays the same even when nothing around you has changed. Think about something you already have. Your name, your home, your identity. Do you feel excited about it 24/7? No. But are you certain it's yours? 100%. That's conviction. You don't need to get emotional about your name to believe it. You just know. And that's exactly the feeling Neville was pointing to. But most people miss this. They think they need to feel something intense for manifestation to work. So they chase emotion instead of building certainty. And that's why they burn out. Because forced emotion is exhausting. But conviction? It's calm, effortless, natural. It feels like relief. Like something inside you just settles and says, it's done. I don't need to worry anymore. And here's the powerful part. When you reach that state, you stop chasing your desire. You stop overthinking. You stop checking for signs. Because there's nothing to chase. It already feels real within you. This is why some people manifest faster. Not because they feel more excitement, but because they carry more certainty. Their inner world is stable. They don't get shaken easily. They don't panic when nothing happens immediately. They stay grounded in the assumption, and reality eventually catches up. Now here's where it gets practical. Instead of asking, do I feel excited enough? Start asking, do I feel certain? Because that's the real test. You don't need to be smiling all day. You don't need to feel high energy. You just need to reach a point where your mind says, yes, this is mine. Even if it's quiet, even if it's subtle, even if it doesn't look dramatic. That quiet knowing is more powerful than any intense emotion. And here's a shift that will help you. Stop trying to create the feeling. Instead, remind yourself of the truth you've chosen to accept. It's already done. It's already mine. Sit with that idea without forcing anything. And slowly, naturally, your mind will begin to accept it. That acceptance becomes conviction. And conviction becomes your new state. From that state, everything changes. You move differently. You think differently. You respond differently. And most importantly, you stop resisting. Because doubt can't exist where certainty lives. So remember this. Manifestation is not about emotional highs. It's about inner stability. The moment you stop chasing feelings and start resting in knowing, that's when you truly begin to feel it real. This is the trap that destroys almost every manifestation, silently. You imagine your desire, you feel it, you believe it for a moment, and then you do one thing that cancels everything. You check the 3D world, you look around and ask, is it here yet? Why hasn't anything changed? Where are the signs? And in that moment, you shift out of faith and back into doubt. Here's the hard truth most people don't want to hear. The 3D world is not your creator. It's your reflection. It's showing you what you've already been assuming, not what you just started imagining 5 minutes ago. But because you don't understand this, you treat the 3D like it's in charge. You let it decide how you feel. If nothing has changed, you feel discouraged. If something goes wrong, you feel like it's not working. And without realizing it, you keep resetting your own manifestation. Over and over again. This is why Neville said, ignore the senses. Not because reality doesn't matter, but because reacting to it keeps you stuck in the same cycle. Let me make this simple. Imagine planting a seed. You put it in the soil today, and tomorrow, you dig it up to check if it's growing. What happens? You kill the process. Now imagine doing that every single day. That's exactly what you're doing when you keep checking the 3D. You're not allowing your assumption to take root. You're interrupting it with doubt. And doubt sends a new signal. So instead of growth, you get delay. Now here's the shift you need to understand deeply. The 3D world always lags behind your inner state. It's delayed. So when you look at it and say, nothing is happening, you're actually looking at old information, old assumptions, old beliefs, old identity. But instead of staying loyal to your new state, you react to the old reflection. and go right back to being the old version of yourself. This is why nothing changes. Because you never stay in the new state long enough. So what should you do instead? You stop checking and start trusting, not blindly, not forcefully, but with understanding. You remind yourself, this is just a reflection. It will catch up. Even if things look the same, even if nothing seems different, you hold your inner position, calm, stable, unmoved. Because you know something most people don't. The real shift already happened within you, and the outer world has no choice but to follow. This is where discipline comes in. Not physical discipline, mental discipline. When your mind says, check again, you pause, and instead you return to your assumption. It's done. Simple, quiet, firm. No drama, no overthinking, just consistency. Because manifestation is not about intensity, it's about stability. The person who wins is not the one who feels the most, it's the one who stays the most consistent in their state. And here's the powerful part. When you stop checking, something interesting happens. You relax. You stop obsessing. You stop chasing. And that relaxed state is exactly where manifestation flows fastest. Because there's no resistance, no pressure, no desperation, just quiet trust. So the next time you feel the urge to check your reality, remember this. The 3D is not telling you what's coming. It's showing you what was. And your job is not to react to the past. It's to stay loyal to the version of you who already has it. Because the moment you stop letting the 3D control you, is the moment it starts changing for you. There's something happening inside your mind all day, every day, and most of the time, you're not even aware of it. It's your inner talk, that quiet voice, those automatic thoughts, the conversations you have with yourself when no one is listening. And here's the truth most people miss. That voice is not random. It's programming your entire reality, not your affirmations, not your visualization, your dominant inner talk, because what you repeatedly say inside becomes what you repeatedly experience outside. Think about it. How do you talk to yourself when things go wrong? Do you say, of course, this happened to me. Nothing ever works out. I knew it would fail. Or do you say, it's okay, I always find a way. This will turn in my favor. Everything is working for me. That difference right there is everything. Because your inner talk reveals your true identity. Not what you're trying to believe, but what you naturally believe. And manifestation always follows what's natural to you. This is why someone can visualize success, but still expect failure. Because their inner talk hasn't changed. And here's the key. Your mind listens to what you repeat the most. Not what you say once in a while, but what you say consistently, without effort. That's why a 5-minute affirmation session cannot override 10 hours of negative self-talk. It just can't. So if you really want to shift your reality, you don't just change what you say during practice. You change how you speak to yourself throughout the day. This is where awareness becomes powerful. Start noticing your thoughts, not judging them, not fighting them, just observing. Because once you become aware, you gain the power to change them. Here's a simple shift that works. Instead of letting negative thoughts run automatically, interrupt them gently. If your mind says, this isn't working, you respond with, it is working. I just need to stay consistent. If your mind says, I don't have enough, you shift to, I always receive what I need at the right time. Notice something important. You're not forcing positivity. You're guiding your inner conversation, and over time, that becomes your new default. Because your brain learns through repetition. The more you repeat a new inner talk, the more natural it feels. And once it feels natural, that becomes your identity. And once it becomes your identity, your reality starts matching it. This is how powerful inner talk really is. It shapes your expectations, your reactions, your decisions, even the opportunities you notice or ignore. Two people can be in the same situation. One sees possibility, the other sees limitation. Why? Different inner talk, different internal world, different results. So if you want to change your outer world, start with the voice inside, because that voice is either building your future